What's happening? How's it going? Welcome back to the Shoveit Podcast.
Yeah, you better.
The episode I did previously was talking about, like motivation and progress and comparison, right? And I got this message from my mother, my dear mother. And it was a beautiful message. Hey son, just listen to the new episode of the podcast. You need to stop comparing yourself, yada yada yada, right? It was a classic. Mom listened and messaged me with some parental advice. I just laughed and was like, I'll just chat to her when I see her. And then when I saw her, I was like, you do realize that these topics that I'm talking about, while I am thinking them, they're also just very interesting things to discuss. They're interesting topics to discuss, which is why I'm doing it. And I think it's not like a cry for help. And that's what I find so interesting about the social media world and online content as a whole. And I think we as people, I'm still not really sure if we're all ready for it. I'm not really sure how it affects me, how it affects my children and the next generation, especially my kids, because they've just grown up with the stuff. They've grown up with social media. They've grown up with content, and they treat things and they deal with stuff like everything's a fucking YouTube video. My kids film stuff like they're talking to an audience sometimes. We've definitely in our house have made a real proactive effort to remove as much screen time as we can, but that's a tricky thing to do because screen time for our kids in that generation, that's going to be a large part of what they do, I guess, professionally. Like the things that they'll have to do for their profession and their life in the future. So it's getting that balance right, isn't it? Between, like, as a parent anyway, of, making sure your kids know how to use this stuff and educate them on how to use it and how to use it safely, and also develop their skills while also trying to teach them an understanding of life without it, because their life isn't without it. And that's such a weird conversation I have to have with them. And I think, like, when I look at my parents' generation, they grew up with none of this stuff. And I still feel sometimes when I'm watching them operate devices, I'm going, bless you. Not because they've sneezed, but like, bless your cotton socks. You're giving it a go. You gave it a rattle. You used the large size font. You're looking at it like that, like you're wearing bifocals and clicking at it from a distance. You're trying to work it out. And there's kind of a humbling honesty in watching them use technology. And like, look, not everybody who's older, I'm not just saying if you're old you can't use technology, I'm just saying for the most part. Now, like my father-in-law, I would say he's very proactive on social medias, posts a lot of stuff, Should he be? If you listen to this, no, you shouldn't be. You've got no decorum on the internet. But I think, you look at people like that, and like my mom will do it. She'll just post something on her Facebook, and I'm like, who's that for? She's the sort of one that would just, share a post or write an opinion on something and just post it out into the ether. And I'm like, who is there? Why are you doing that? And then I think, like, I look at people who have personal Instagram accounts and personal Facebook accounts or personal Twitters or personal TikToks and stuff, and people are putting videos up. And I think there's this, someone like TikTok's a good example of people who make silly videos and then just post them, and you go to their account and they've got 50 followers and 20 views a video. On one hand, what's the fucking point? On the other hand, isn't that great? They don't care. They do not care, because their reason to do it was just to take part. And I try to look at that and go, like, the more I think about it, I'm like, that's like the people that just attend a sports practice to be a part of it. They do a casual run club on a Monday night. At no time do they take part in a marathon. At no, maybe you're part of I'm trying to think of other clubs. Maybe you're part of a chess club, but at no point are you trying to be the Queen's Gambit. You just Happy to be there, happy to take part. And a lot of people, a large portion of people who consume social media are that side of it. And I find that so fucking hard, because when I'm talking about these things, I'm always talking about these things from a content creator, contributor, producer of content. That's sort of that side of things. So then when someone like my mom consumes that content, she's treating it like the way she's thinking, the way she's using it. And I'm like, well, everything's based on real life and based on real stories, but it's all curated to work within the realms of an audience. It's not playing the game, because I'm horrendously bad at playing the game, but it is playing into the rules of the game. I understand the rules. I keep getting sidelined for not obeying them, that kind of thing. But I don't know if this makes any sense. It's such a weird, tricky little topic. But basically, I create something because I know that it's interesting and I find it interesting, and I want to put it on the internet because there might be other people who resonate with that topic. There might be people that needed to hear that for their own mental health. There may be somebody that might be struggling with something or might find that interesting or learn something from that. But then there's other people who, like, maybe there's a large portion of those people also create, in which case they understand the back and forth. I've got people that would like comment 3 different things on one video and then send you a wink, like, feeding the algorithm. And I'm like, yeah, we get it. We're all just trying to play this game. But then there's a large portion of people that consume that content and it helps them with whatever they're doing. And some of those people don't ever contribute. Like my wife never contributes to the internet. She doesn't post anything. She's just not interested in it, but consumes loads of it. And there's no intention. She's not interested at all. She just watches stuff, moves to the next thing, enjoys this, watches that, watches this series, watches these fucking documentaries on YouTube, or flicks through Tickety Talk or whatever that stuff is, and she just consumes. And I find it fascinating that there's these groups of people that exist here doing these completely different things. When I posted that video last week, it's like, I was like, well, this is interesting. Somebody might resonate with this. So I'll put this out there. It'll be a good topic to talk about. It'll get it off my chest and get my thought process running, and I'll be able to, it'll maybe lead me on to something else. And it actually did. It helped me think about a whole bunch of stuff. So it worked really well for me. But then, my mom's like, oh, there's Dylan, overthinking and struggling again with his things. And by the way, if you're listening to this, I'm drinking a beer in the middle of this. I didn't just have a stroke in the middle of the episode. But she's sitting there, bless her, thinking that I'm struggling. And I guess we're all struggling all the time with stuff, but sharing these things is a nice way, I find, to communicate thoughts and ideas. And for myself, I like to verbalize things. I'm a very verbal person. I was always told in school I had verbal diarrhea. So I like talking and I like making these videos. And I think about this sort of stuff a lot, and way too much thought about it, but I quite enjoy dissecting stuff. I've often thought it'd be really cool to go back to tech or something and study human philosophy psychology, human psychology in some way. Because I'm interested in people and how they interact with each other, why they do stuff, nuances, the depths of their thought, the reasons that make them take the actions that they take. I love pulling these things apart. To be honest with you, if you speak to my friends, sometimes I'll just be like, Bill's a fucking headache. Like, he's just fart. Like, I just dive deep. I'm like, let's go as deep as we can here on this topic. So you can imagine how much I've thrived over the last few years, right? Yeah, like, all mates are like tinfoil hat. I'm like, no, not about tinfoil hat. I just love diving deep on all these topics and discussions and thoughts as to what's happening. Why are people doing stuff? I find it fascinating. I'm very open all the time to talking about any topic. I'm always very open to, like, I'm at the point now where, like, my mind is so open. If someone, I said this to my mate Ryan today, I was like, if someone was just like, the earth is hollow, I would go, that does not surprise me. Any old shit could be real at this point in time. But I've looked at read so much about so many different things, and started to read a lot more about history and global politics and all these things. And the problem we have now with things like social media is trying to understand what's real, what isn't real, and more importantly, what we're actually capable of consuming, digesting, and then being able to understand in a healthy way. Because there's a lot of stuff happening, and we are being fed this constant stream of information. Every time you turn a TV on or open a phone or open a laptop, you're just like, before you've had a choice, you are given this information. And I try to do a thing in the morning. I have a bit of a morning routine where I get up and I try to not look at my phone for the first hour. I try to not look at my phone for the first hour. I get up, I drink water, no caffeine, just water, and I don't look at my phone. And the reason being is because I want to control the first step of the day. You ever heard that saying? Clearly neither have I. Make your bed and your day will not be shit. That's not the saying. But basically, there is a saying somewhere about making your bed in the morning. It's like, start your day off right by making your bed, because you've got the first thing done and dusted. And I think if you wake up and the first thing you do is pick up your phone and open the internet, what you've done there is you have let outside influences dictate your mood, your train of thought, your next steps for the day. I fucking absolutely hate that. And I'm trying to instill that with like my kids, trying to teach them that they need to drop their reliance. And my kids are not bad at screens at all, man. There's like, they say to me like, oh, but all our mates have such and such. And I got, well, if all your mates jumped in a fire, would you? You know, that saying is never going to get old. Beer sip here, by the way. But when you start to look at that relationship that we have and like how we understand content on the internet, we've got to find a healthy way ourselves of doing all this. If you're a content creator like me, you'll fall into that comparison cycle all the time, that second guessing yourself. And I think that's from just seeing too much stuff. And then if you're on the other side of it, you could fall very quickly into just being fed negative news. I mean, if you've a YouTube channel here, all right, and you're subscribed, go and watch a couple of videos or just let them play to see what it does to your feed. Because I swear to fuck, I could watch one thing and then I'll watch a Russell Brand video. It's like the people in there are like, fucking stop all that content, pull all that back. He just wants Russell Brand. Just fucking pump him full. And then it's just like tons of Russell Brand content. And then I go, and then maybe like, you know, that's all I see for a few days. So I'm like, this is far too much. And you stop and I'm like, I just want to watch a little bit of longboard surfing. So I'll watch a little video from Malibu. And then I'm like, oh, that's quite cool. And then another one pops up. It's like some Billabong trip to like Mexico. So I'm like, oh, sick. I'll just watch a little bit of that there. It's like, fucking, yeah, pull a break on all that. Just feed this guy longboard surf competition. Everything. Everybody who's gone to Indonesia or surfed in Mexico or anywhere in Bali, just send him longboard. And I'm like, can you just calm the fuck down? I just want a mix of all. I want to watch some skateboard stuff. I want to watch some BMX videos. I want to watch a little bit of camera stuff. I also want to watch hot ones, you know. But the algorithm works so fast and changes so quickly that you are almost not making those decisions. And I'm trying to teach my kids that you need to control your thoughts, your opinions, your stuff. And you need to understand what you can consume healthily. So, you know, if you're not a creator and you go into that and that happens, very quickly you just start getting fed loads and loads and loads of negative stuff, or stuff that starts to warp your opinion in one direction heavily. And I'm a very strong believer in trying to look at all aspects of conversation, try to find a level ground so that you understand there's two sides. That old saying, there's two sides to every argument. There's two sides to every story, and you need to sort of look at both sides. But the algorithms aren't in your favor that way. They're like, boom, just keep feeding you the same shit so that you zone out. So you stop having your own train of thought and you start thinking what they want to think. So I get up in the morning and I'm like, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm going to get up. I'm going to make my decisions of what I want to do for me first. I just like to get up in the morning and control my vision and views for the day. When I wake up, I'm always feeling really energized and fresh, and my mind is clear. And I find like one of the worst things to do is pollute that with social media or the news, especially the news. Like I remember growing up, like news would be playing in the house, or like I've got friends that always have the news playing in their house on a TV, like, you know, in the morning, that's what they do. Put the news on. I used to go around to my grandparents' house when I was younger, and they would have done the same thing. News was on in the morning. And I think that was fine when it was like a very passive consumption. If you know, it was like the news was on at these times of day, and that you just were fed what the news told you. But nowadays, there's so many streams of it. It's coming from every fucking angle possible, and you're just bombarded with this stuff left, right, and center constantly. So I like to get up in the morning, clear head, make my decisions, set myself up for the day fresh, and then when I'm ready and I know what my plan is, then I can consume in my own time. And I think there's a real interesting lesson there to be had for when you start to look at this. But in order to do this, you really have to start to look at your consumption and how you work before and after it. And then you need to really think about the relationship you have with it, whether it's healthy or not. And then you need to control how much you use it. Now, some people are going to be fine. They're not going to be massively affected. Others are going to be like me, struggle a little bit with it. It might ruin enthusiasm levels. I know, like I could have a really good idea and then open up, you know, Instagram, scroll a few times and just fucking lose all motivation. And I think when you start to look into things like dopamine and how it feeds and how it hits and how often it hits, and I think that's also different from men and women, like how they deal with those things are very, very different, which is stuff I've been reading and listening about a lot now, which has really opened my mind to like how I might deal with that, as to how my wife might deal with that sort of thing. Things I never really thought about. This is what I'm saying, you know, just fucking, we're going deeper. But it's a fascinating topic. And when my mom texted me that, I was just like, oh man, her understanding of what she's consuming is very different to what I'm consuming. Like I wouldn't read something like that by somebody like me and think anything more than they had an interesting topic they thought people would enjoy. So like in the same way that I wouldn't go to the cinema and watch a movie and then think what happened in that movie was even remotely real. My understanding of that relationship is very clear. But like my mom, for example, I'm not trying to drag her through the bushes here. She'll go to the cinema and she'll understand that relationship. That's super clear to her. She understands that the relationship with the radio DJ is what it is, a presentation. The TV people, it's a presentation. You know, if you listen to a song, someone's writing a creative piece, that's very clear. It's a very clear relationship because it's a very obvious divide between us, the consumers, and the creation. But because social media is in everyone's hands and because we can all create stuff all the time at the drop of a hat and we can all contribute to these platforms, the line for creation and consumption is like blurred. So I think that from a psychological point of view fucks with all of our heads a little bit, and some worse than others. Some people just don't really realize, oh, that he's actually all right, or that person's fine, that was clearly created for this. And then other people struggle to get shit done. I struggle on the get shit done side of it. Mine's definitely on the motivation side of it. So I just think it's a really interesting topic. Maybe you're sitting there, you know, from one of those sides of the spectrum and you're like, yeah, fucking right, Dylan, I'm totally on this. Or maybe you're currently writing me a message to go, Dill, look, buddy, it's going to be okay. It's all been, why don't we come around here, we'll hug it out. I'm all right. We'll be fine, folks. We'll all be all right. It'll be grand. But I wanted to share that, throw that topic out there. What do you think about that? Do you find social media to be you have a healthy relationship with it? Is it a healthy relationship? Do you find it hampers or improves your life? How often are you using it? What applications are you using? Is there one that really pisses you off more than the other? You know, is there one that you enjoy? Is YouTube a social media platform? That's another question. You know, throw me some answers on that one. Maybe I'll do an episode talking about, is YouTube a social media platform? Because I'm not 100% sure about that sometimes. But look, hope you've enjoyed that. Maybe you enjoy these thoughtful fucking ramblings of a mental case. Appreciate you listening to it. Appreciate you watching it if you did. Would love it if you subscribed to the channels and follow the journey, and we'll keep trying to push these things out on a regular basis. I've got a couple of recordings with some people that I'd like to pull in for a little back and forth on that, and a couple of other things I'd like to go and do with the podcast, but also just like there's guest stuff I want to do with the podcast, but there's projects I'm going to be working on with the Shoveit thing. All right, so stick around. You know, it'll be a laugh, he says. Catch you in the next episode.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Right, let's fucking go home because it's absolutely freezing in here and I can't feel my hands. Off air.